viewers, hello. I'm going to be drawing this lion, which I've got off a sharing platform, and I've altered it to make it black and white, and I've put some additional settings on the phone just to change the contrast slightly to make it a little bit different from the original, and I'm going to do it as a tonal study. Now, as a general rule, I would do this in charcoal, and therefore all the back that you can see would be charcoal, and I would use an eraser, a mono eraser, to remove the white sections or leave them white when I was using the charcoal. However, I thought long and hard, I thought, no, I'm not going to do this as a charcoal. I'm going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to do it as a white drawing on a black background. I haven't done this for absolute years. I don't yet know whether I'm going to do it in pencil crayon or whether I'm going to do it in ink. Can't decide. I'm going to have a practice and have a go. I do have white charcoal, so I could have done it in white charcoal, but it's a bit scratchy, the white charcoal. It's not the best. So again, I don't fancy doing that. So I fancy doing something a little bit different, challenging myself. It might work, it might not work. We'll give it a go. So with that in mind, I did order myself a nice new Holbein coloured pencil. I've got loads of polychromo pencils that I could have used that are white, but somebody has recently recommended and said that Holbein is really, really soft. So I thought, well, for the case of a few quid, I'll just randomly buy one and we'll give it a go and see whether we like it or not. And if I like it, then I'll get the whole set. I've also just been out and bought some fairly cheap fine liner tip pens. I've got several of these gel pens, but they do tend to dry up quite quickly. These aren't a gel pen, they are actually a fine liner, and I need some new ones. So these are in both a 0.5mm and a 0.7mm. I tend to go favour for the 0.5 and sometimes even smaller, but again, I just thought I'd give these ones a go, see what they're like. They're white acrylic paint pens. We might like them, we might hate them. We'll give them a whirl and we'll see. They are water-based. It is highly pigmented and it says it's quick to dry, so we'll see what that's like. So we've got some additional material. So I've got some tape here, which is what I use when I'm doing any watercolours to seal around the edges. I don't want my picture moving, so I'm going to tape it down. I also want to limit it to a particular size, so that helps me get some guardrails. Trusty pack of pencils, and I will be sketching it out very lightly first, and I tend to use a clicky pen, like a fine nibbed lead pen. This again is a 0.5. It's actually, I think, got 3B, it might even be 5B leads in here. There'll be soft leads. Minimum there'll be is a 2.5, a 2B. I do tend to favour a softer lead, but I do like to use these pencils because, for me personally, I haven't got to sharpen them, which is brilliant. You just keep clicking. And my kind of style of drawing tends to be, I do quite a lot of cross-hatching, and I might end up cross-hatching this. I don't know. I'm just going to start drawing and see what happens. We'll just go with the flow. But I tend to favour these pencils because I can get really fine detail, and I really like them. I've also got some black kind of cheapy card here. This was actually the cover of some watercolour pad that came recently, and I thought, oh, I'll keep that rather than chuck it away. Like most artists, we're a bit of hoarders, keep everything. It's nice and smooth. It's not particularly posh. Like I said, it was just a cover sheet for a watercolour block, so it's a bit rough around the edges, hence why I'm going to tape it. It might be that the ink soaks in and I abandon it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to give it a whirl. If not, I have got some black, more professional cartridge paper that I can utilise, but hey, it's a make do amend situation. Let's give it a bash. And I've also got in the background the image that I've got on my iPad here for ease, so that I can zoom in for any particular detail. And I've also got a photograph printout here, which has just been done on some photographic paper. I like to have a photo reference as well, so that I can grid this up and use this to transfer the image and just check my scaling. But again, you can't really see a lot of details, so I do like to zoom in, particularly when I'm going to be doing the eyes. I can zoom in with my iPad. And then just a cloth here to keep my arm nice and clean, because you can smudge a little bit, so I just use a microfiber cloth. Gets a bit grubby, but I use it just to keep my arm out of the drawing, and also I can kind of cover certain sections. You can use a piece of paper, you can use a piece of tracing paper, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm very accident prone. I've also got a drink here, so if that's going to get spilled, although it has got a nice safety lid on it, but if it does get spilled, I have my cloth here to clean it up with. And I am going to be sticking it to this cover so that the picture doesn't move around. So that's it. I'm all prepped and ready to go. Follow along and let's see whether this works. Like I said, a bit of an experiment. I might hate it, I might love it, but it's all about having a go. Right, so you may not be able to see this very clearly on the video, but I have just done a very, very rough image transfer just to get the basic principles of the outline of the drawing on the paper, and I am going to go with ink, not pencil. I may regret this, but hey ho. And I'm going to go with the 0.7. Just think it'll be a bit more fun. I'm going to keep my scrap bit of paper, which I've moved over here next to me in case I need to get the ink flowing again. Move that out of the way. And I'll pop that there. And we're going to start. There's some fur here that's kind of crossing over like this. So this side comes in like that, and that side comes in like that, but then weirdly it also flicks out. So it's a bit faffy, but kind of need to get to mirror some of the base strokes directionally, how these kind of stubbly whiskers on his chin, which is a stronger fur. Think about a cat's chin, tends to be a bit stubblier. It kind of is going all over the place. Apologies if you can hear the dog snoring in the background. He's just had a walk, so he's dreaming pleasant dreams. This pen sounds a lot scratchier on the surface than it actually is. There's not a lot of resistance. It's actually working a lot nicer than I had expected it to, if I'm honest. So I'm just going to darken certain sections here, going over the top purposely. that sense of depth without actually just colouring it all in, but also keeping that sense of the whiskers. I've made them a bit long there, but hey ho, this is a lot brighter here, so I need to keep going over some of these bits just to make them a bit more solid. This is a drawing, ultimately not a painting, so I don't want to just colour block it all in. I do want to leave a little bit of the paper shining through because that adds depth. But on the flip side of it, you don't want too much, otherwise the image won't look solid. Right, I think he's done. Just going to compare him to the photo. Obviously it's a lot brighter and lots of different tones that with a pen is hard to do, but I want to make sure that I've got the lights in the right place. I could have darkened all of this really. I've made a bit, faffed a bit. It should have been darker. But once it's on, unless I put a black pen over the top, which I'm not going to do, you can't kind of lift the marks. So you have to live with them. Live with your choices. And so far, yeah, it's alright. I'll cope. Eyes have turned out well. If I zoom in, wait for the camera to just focus, you'll see that it's just a load of lines and dots. I didn't really cross hatch on this. It was lines and dots. Sorry, this is a bad camera focus. There we go. Lines and dots. Just give the impression of the mane, etc. Have a bit of fun. There we go. One line completed. Took about 2 hours.